It's not
Oh,
recording.
got it.
There we go. And welcome back, everybody, to the TV show. My name is Jay Black, joined every week by the very famous Angelo and very famous Rhea Hughes. How are you
Oh,
guys?
great.
Cool. We're
I,
good.
I'm recording from my beautiful room on this boat. If I can make a suggestion to everybody, if you have the opportunity to be on a cruise for 24 days, don't do that. It's not having fun. I want to go home immediately. But the one thing that I do get to do is talk TV with my friends. So that's what we're going to do today. And let me bring up what we're talking about because I got a whole bunch of email while we were talking. And here we go. So first things first. There was a discussion on the Verge podcast this week, which I listened to a ton of podcasts when I'm on the cruise, and it's so good that they were talking about TV. And they were talking about, and I sent you over the information here that ESPN is really wrapped up right now in the future of what television is going to be. They're trying to figure it out because ESPN for the last 35 years has been the cash cow that has allowed Disney to do what Disney's doing. Okay. So the two main points of this discussion that they had is number one, that ESPN might spin out to a direct to consumer streaming channel. And if they did, the estimate of what it would have to cost to have everything that they currently have is $30 to $40 a month. And I
Wow.
want to tackle that one first. Is that a sustainable price? Would people pay 30 to
No,
$40 for
no.
the sports on
That's
ESPN?
just ESPN, you're saying. The college game,
Just it,
Monday Night
so
Football, just ESPN.
the estimate was to stay profitable the way it currently is, with the reduced amount of people watching, with everything that it currently has at the prices that it currently has, $30 to $40 a month for just ESPN. Is anybody buying that anywhere on this planet? I say no.
No, they're not.
No.
They're not, right?
No, for the first time, I would actually go to my bosses and say, I need to expense this
Yeah.
because that would, obviously, I'm, Angela knows this. I'm a college football fan.
Yep.
Game day on Saturday, if I don't have anything to do with Clark or whatever, I park my ass on the couch and I watch college football all day long. But with all the other things I'm doing, absolutely not.
All right, but Jay,
So
I want to interject here with a confession, and I really want to turn it on to you a little bit because I made a comment a few months ago here that proved not to be true, and that was that I was going to cut the cord, that I was not going to get cable, and then I started to realize I actually started the process, and then I started to realize, wait a minute, I am going to want ESPN for Monday Night Football. I am going to want A&E because I really like checking out Parking Wars. I like the local stations, for the news and stuff. And I started to realize that cable was giving me what I wanted. It was more than I wanted, but it was all that I wanted. And I didn't cut the cord. You did, right?
yeah,
Do you miss not having cable?
I do, and I'll tell you the thing I miss it.
You
I
seem
miss it.
sad when you said that.
I am, because I spent the last 30 years talking about how much I hated cable TV.
Yeah.
And I think we all did. But the thing that I miss the most, honestly, is live TV that I can flip channels around on. And I know that seems silly, but
Sure.
like, number one, I love watching the news. I can't get live news on the internet. I just can't. I do like watching football on Sundays. I can't do that easily on the internet. And I like when there's nothing on to flip through 250 channels and land on something I wasn't even thinking of. Because when I go to Netflix, I spend more time trying to pick out what I want to watch than I do watching it. And the idea of somebody picking it out for me, I'm like, well, this is pretty nice. And I do think that as we have done this experiment with cutting cords and going to streaming, I think we all kind of miss having one place to go, because even my kids now who are super internet savvy, they wanted to watch a movie and they were like, do we have it? Do we have the streamer that has it? Yes. If we don't, where do we get it? Where do we go? There's apps that you can go check it out. So I do think that a cable-like service, whether it be Netflix, morphing into it, or Amazon Prime or whatever, or YouTube, is kind of what we all secretly want. We want someone to help us out picking out what to watch. I really do. Wait, what do you think, Rhea?
Yeah, you're right about the being able to switch back and forth. So I got onto streaming, like my best friend came to streaming late, and he'll send me a text and go, "Hey, switch over to channel 10 right now." And I go, I'm in the middle of a show and I can't, you know, and you don't know how many times he gets annoyed with me. And I'm like, I gotta go out, do this. And I'm a streaming fan, but I do that aspect of being able to flip back and forth. And I'm not somebody who, I don't watch local news. Everything that I want to watch on Discovery, I've already got it on the app. So I'm literally about to cut the cord. I'm going to YouTube TV. I have it all set up, but I want to make sure I'm able to watch football. So I'm waiting for the first weekend. And if I'm able to get all the games, obviously the Eagles game, if I'm able to get all that, I'm gone off of cable because I've just trained myself already for it.
All right. Well, I would now, Rhea, since no one else will, I would like to date myself. I was alive when there were 3 channels. ABC, NBC, CBS. And what I learned through this process of wanting to cut the cord and then not doing it, I need 300 or 400 channels, even if I'm never going to look at them. If you had so few and now you have so many, why are you getting rid of some? I guess eventually it'll get so expensive I'll have to make that choice. But cable has survived, will survive, and should survive. That's what my lesson is from thinking about and deciding not to cord cut.
They used to say that, Ange, about terrestrial radio, remember?
That's true. That's true. You're right, Rhea.
Before we move off of it, though, Angelo, do you see it? Would you switch over to like Rhea? Because in that Verge podcast, they do talk about YouTube TV is probably best positioned, especially with this $2 billion investment in football. That was a very smart move.
That's what I did. I went to YouTube. My son hooked me up with YouTube, and that was the first phase of getting out of cable. And then I used YouTube for a few times, and it didn't have everything I wanted. And I went, no, I don't think it has the MLB channel. It didn't have. There were a couple of things in it didn't want. And the minute I didn't have something that I wanted, I started to not like it.
If it doesn't have red zone, then I can't use it because I have to have red zone.
That's the number one thing. If it doesn't have red zone, forget it. Red zone, you have to have. You're right.
So moving on to talk about the world that we live in with streaming, there was a throwaway line on another podcast, The Watch, Chris Ryan. I'm a big Chris Ryan fan. He's a very good TV podcaster, but he threw it away as just a throwaway sentiment. And I really wanted to talk about it in depth. Basically, he said, we live in a world where there is no longer retooling that goes on with TV shows. And if you remember what a retool is, the producers of a show go, this character is more important than this other character. A good example would be Happy Days. When Happy Days, when it came out, it was a show about Richie. By the end of season 1, it was a show about Fonzie because everybody said, we love Fonzie, give us more Fonzie. And the main difference between TV and movies is that TV is done weekly and movies are just done and put out. So theoretically, TV has the ability to adapt as the audience replies. But since we've moved into the prestige era, that doesn't go on anymore because you're spending $100 million on 10 episodes. You can't adapt. You make them all at once and release them. So I wanted to talk a little bit about retooling. I sent you a link of shows that have retooled. Are there any that stand out to you, shows that adapted in real time that you wound up liking more as it did? Angelo,
I think the one that I know, it was a great show, was West Wing. West Wing wasn't really supposed to be about President Bartlett. You know, it was supposed to be all these other things, but he was smart and Sheen is so good that it wound up becoming about him and becoming the huge hit it did. That was the one that I know just from watching the earlier episodes that he wasn't. Seinfeld is another one. You know, you've got Kramer was not a big part of it in the beginning. He was just the crazy guy who jumped into it wild. Those are the two most recent ones that I remember that retooled and went, we got these characters, we got to ride them.
That is such a great example. Aaron Sorkin writes the best pilots, not maybe
Yes.
the best shows all the time, but the best pilot. When Bartlett comes in at the end of that West Wing pilot, the entire energy of the show shifts into a higher gear, and everybody watching must have gone, "Oh, maybe this is our show. Maybe maybe this is the guy." And the show got 100 times better when he walked on. Maybe that's what we want to do. That's a great example.
Yeah.
Angelo.
The one often cited is the original was the Bob Newhart show, and then it became Newhart, and they moved them to another thing. And the second Newhart, the reboot of the original, with him as an innkeeper rather than a psychologist, was better than the original. Now, I don't know if you want to call that a reboot because it wasn't exactly the same show. The reason why you can is at the end of the second Newhart show, they connected it to the first. The second Newhart show was merely a dream that he had at the end of the first Newhart show. It was a brilliant way to end it. That the other great reboot was done out of necessity, and it was Dexter. Dexter's final season was so terrible that 8 years later, Showtime brought all the characters back and almost ignored how they had ended it the first time and ended it right the second time. That reboot was phenomenal, and it redeemed the legacy of a great television show.
I would say, too, a show that you've talked about that you really like, Angelo, and I think both agree that Shelley Long was a better person on Years than Rebecca Howe. I'm forgetting Kirstie Alley. But the fact that show survived 6 more years after Shelley Long left and was still beloved, that's a show adapting in real time and going, well, you know, people still want the show. We're going to keep going with it. And that's what a good retool does.
Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. Fresh Prince of Bel-Air when they replaced Aunt Viv. I mean, that was, you know, it was totally fine.
Yeah, right. And you know what? Netflix canceled the show. That's the main difference because I think nowadays, if the main character left, they would just go, okay, show's over. You got your 4 seasons, moving on. I kind of miss the network days where they go, well, it's a TV show. Who cares? We'll bring in a new character and you guys will still enjoy it.
Exactly.
So let's move on to America's favorite segment, British TV with Rhea Hughes. What do you got for us this week, Rhea?
I actually have an English movie. It's called Heart of Stone, starring, and I can never know if I pronounce her name right, Gal Gadot.
I think it's Gadot, right? Or do you pronounce the
T? From Wonder Woman?
Oh, yeah.
Yes, I'll pronounce it however she wants me to.
Well, that's the point. So she stars as a rookie member of an MI6 team. Now, MI6 is the British version of the CIA, although the CIA was kind of based off of MI6. It also stars 50 Shades, Jamie Dornan, and then there's this Bollywood superstar, Aaliyah Bhatt. It's streaming on Netflix. I will tell you, critics did not like it. 28% Rotten Tomatoes. Audience was a little bit kinder at 56%, but it topped Netflix English films with 35.2 million views, and it's #1 in 91 countries. It's supposed to be a franchise starter for Gal Gadot. And listen, as we all know, she's really easy on the eyes. She is, I term someone like her as effortlessly beautiful. I mean, that's what she is. Any, you know, dirt on her face, you know, but she's an action star in this. The opening scenes of her parachuting and skiing at night down an Alps snowy mountain to a high-speed car chase in Lisbon. It's really cool. It's all, so what it is she plays a rookie agent in MI6, but she's a seasoned member of this shadowy group called the Charter that basically they spy on spies. So they're a peacekeeping organization. She's embedded in with them. There's a massive twist, I will say, very early on in the movie, I was shocked at. I didn't particularly like it. I understood what they were doing. I don't want to give it away, but anybody who watches this movie will be stunned by it. AI is a major part of the movie. There's a software called the Heart. That's where the Heart of Stone comes from. They collect information. They calculate outcomes until the bad guys try to steal the heart. It's really somebody who watched it, a friend of mine, said it was really dumb fun, which I agree with. They're kind of trying to be Mission Impossible, but with a female lead, and you really can't go wrong with Gal Gadot.
Yeah, dumb
The
fun with Gal Gadot. That's a winner for me.
thing, she's one of the few when you say like female stars that are beautiful that also look like they can do all the stuff that they're doing. She fits
Yes.
right into that Venn diagram. I believe her when she kicks butt. I recently heard someone call Sandra Bullock as approachably beautiful. Like she's beautiful, but you
Yeah.
feel like you could talk to her at a bar. Gal Gadot is the opposite of whatever
Yeah.
that is.
Yeah.
She's beautiful, but I feel like I should walk up to her and go, I don't believe we're the same species, but hello. Like you wouldn't go to say hello to Gal Gadot. All right. So that's called, I'm sorry, Heart of Stone.
Heart of Stone, it's on Netflix.
Got it. Perfect. And I think you have another Netflix show for Teen Corner this week.
I
Yes.
do. So this one, I'm surprised that my son told me he started watching Stranger Things on Netflix. Obviously, a huge hit, 92% of Rotten Tomatoes. Clark is on season 3. There are 4 seasons. I never got into it. He just discovered it within like the last week and a half, and he's binging it. He loves it. He said basically the plot is it's based in 1983 in a small town in Indiana. 4 kids are playing Dungeons and Dragons. Will, Mike, Dustin, and Lucas. Will goes missing. There's some kind of secretive lab in Hawkins, the town where a monster escapes. There's also a young girl in town who appears in town. That's Millie Bobby Brown, who, by the way, is engaged to John Bon Jovi's son, which is a little crazy.
That's
She
not.
spent most of her life in the lab, but she escaped and they're after her. Clark says it's a mystery. There's some horror in it. Then he asked me how old I was in 1983, and I chose not to tell him. But he really loves it. He can't wait to finish it. And here's the crazy thing: the kid who plays Dustin, I actually met him in a bar, believe it or not, in Tuckerton, where my shore house is. He came to see a friend's band, and the bar is basically across the street from my house. And I looked around, I said to my brother, why are there all these young girls in here? And they had all found out that I think his name's Gaetan
Yes.
Mazzarato, and he's from LBI, and they all showed up. But Clark absolutely loves the show.
My daughter is right with Clark. She is 12 years old.
Yeah.
2 years ago, she went as 11 for Halloween.
11's the girl with the shaved head. Yeah.
Shaved head, yes, who has the powers. And I have tons of pictures of her making the 11 face, like hurting people with their telekinetic powers. And it was one of the great moments. I think it was like how I felt or how you felt when Clark wanted to watch Only Murders in the Building. Because
Yes.
my daughter was like, this show's pretty good. And I had already watched it. And I was like,
Yeah.
we're doing a rewatch. Let's sit down and watch together. And she absolutely adored it and is a big Millie Bobby Brown fan. So
And it is what Clark said to me is the kids' ages around 12 and 13. So it's right in
yeah,
their wheelhouse. But from what I've heard, like you, adults love it too. So it's a good show to watch with your teens.
especially adults like me who I wasn't born in 83 yet. I wasn't born until like 97. But
Yeah.
I'm
Exactly.
told there's a lot of nostalgia if you happen to live through that
Yes.
period.
Yeah.
All right, Angelo, what do you got for us this week?
I should warn everyone listening to this podcast right now. Netflix appears to be pitching a perfect game
Wow.
because I am recommending 2 Netflix shows as well.
Okay.
One is sports, and it's great. And I have watched some of the earlier episodes. They just rolled out their 3rd season of the Untold series. These are
Yes.
documentaries about sports events you think you know everything about, and then they tell you a lot of great stuff you don't
wow.
know about. They are great storytellers. There is not
I love
one weak episode in the Untold series. And 3 that they rolled out now. I have not watched the one with Florida State yet, and Urban Meyer. I have seen Johnny Football, which is about
Yeah.
Johnny Manziel. I've seen Hall of Shame, which is the steroid thing with Balco. And I've seen Jake Paul and the Problem Child. And they are all terrific. All right. They are
That's
all under 80 minutes, and they are stories beautifully told with only the good stuff. I've never seen a lag in any one of these shows. What they do with the Hall of Shame, they really grill Vincent Conte, the guy who ran Balco. And at one point, and this is my favorite thing in all of the series, he's telling you, I don't know if Barry Bonds cheated.
Oh
I
God.
don't know. And the guy
His head
shows,
was this big.
yeah, they got a smoking gun. They got
Okay.
Barry Bonds' schedule on when he took which steroids. It's all written out.
Oh.
And they put it in front of Vincent Conte. And they go, well, what is this? And he goes, well, I've never seen this document before.
Oh, of course not.
And it was a gotcha moment. This is great TV. The only thing that it reminds me of is the great series that ESPN's had going on for a long time now, 30 for 30.
Oh, phenomenal.
These are right there in step with these. They are great, great sports documentaries, all nicely, tightly packaged. I love it. And the other one on Netflix, Rhea, again, I would love for you to check it out, because I don't know, when's the last time you watched a sitcom and really laughed? It's been
well, the one we did on the show, the one that was a reboot of a show that it's on Hulu. We did it. It was a
reboot.
reboot. I loved it. I love that.
The name of the show is Fisk. It is also on Netflix, and it was made, yes, once again, in Australia.
Of course.
Written and starred Kitty Flanagan, a woman who wears the worst pantsuits I've ever seen in my life. Rhea, it's laugh out loud funny. She's a lawyer in an awful law firm, and she's all the people around her are weird, offbeat characters. It's 28 minutes, 6 episodes.
I love that.
Just try it, Rhea. I'm telling you, it's funny. It's a sitcom that is funny. Fisk on Netflix.
Well, the last thing you recommended, Hijack, I absolutely loved, so I will watch it.
Thank you. I think you will enjoy it.
I'll throw in one more Netflix thing. This week, I saw on my downloads that I had gotten the American Gladiator documentary on that, which I'm very interested in, just because I lived through that time. But the first few episodes are really interesting from a TV production standpoint, as they figured out how to make the show and how to create a sport from the ground up. So if you're interested in TV and you're interested in sports, it's well worth it. So I just wanted to make it a clean sweep for Netflix.
But I got one more Netflix things I will mention. I just finished the Lincoln Lawyer season 2.
Oh.
Not as good as season 1. And I'm Michael Connelly. I've read every single book. Bosch Legacy. I've loved them all. Season 2 was not as good as season 1.
Okay, I would like to debate this with you next week, because I love season 2.
You did?
Season 2.
It was not as good as season 1.
Rhea, that show is good. It's
very good. I like it. I just said it wasn't as good as 1.
All right, it wasn't as good as 1, but it was watchable, right?
Yeah, no. I'm not saying it wasn't. They set a very high bar. But if you want to argue this next week, I'll be happy to do it.
We would like a debate next week, Jay, on whether Lincoln Lawyer is a good series now. And the guy's name is Manuel Garcia Rulfo.
I love him.
He's really he's a good character. Yeah, we're good. I want to have a debate with
Let's have it out.
Take her down, Jay. I want to take her down.
You know, when I meet people out and they say, you and Angelo and Rhea are doing a podcast, is it about sports? I'm always like, no, it's about the thing that Angelo cares most in this world about, which is TV. And I say, and I will explain it to him. I've never seen him more excited than debating Lincoln Lawyer season 2 with Rhea. Like, get out of the way. Let's debate this.
Jay, the thing I miss the most, other than the callers and the fans, is working with Rhea. I love working with Rhea. I miss that so much.
I miss it too.
Thank you.
Speaking of debate, before we get out of here, I was approached by the Independent, the newspaper, the Independent, to start writing political columns for them. Little funny things. They like, we like your Twitter. Do your Twitter with politics for us. And I said, all right, I'll do that. and they said, "Are you going to be watching the Republican debate?" And I had already scheduled my night around the Republican debate. We get Fox News on this boat. I'm watching it, and I like the way they asked it. I was like, "Well, why? Who wouldn't be watching the Republican debate then? Of course, it's It's the August 23rd primary for an election that doesn't happen for more than a year from now. Of course, I'll watch all 2 hours of it." And it just got me thinking about stupid things that I care about that I know nobody else cares about. And it's always about politics. Like my wife will go, "What are you doing tonight?" And I'll be like, "Well, there's Rachel Maddow is going to have Hillary Clinton on. So that'll be my night." And it's like, Jay,
Nerd.
stop. Yeah, you're such a nerd. Do you guys have anything like that? Do you have something that like counts as a Super Bowl to you that nobody else in your orbit cares about at all?
And I'll let you go first.
I got to do it again, huh?
Yes.
Wentworth. On Netflix, Wentworth. It's the best show I've seen in years. No one watches it. No one cares. I'm alone on that. And I'll throw in one more. Nathan Fielder. Anything he's in. Nathan, for you.
Yes.
Nathan Fielder. He's not a big star, but he is in my mind. I think he's hilarious. Those are the two for me, Wentworth and Nathan Fielder.
So
and by the way,
mine
Louise,
isn't.
our super fan, has watched all of it and loved it because of you, Angelo. So there's one person out there, Louise.
One person. One. Go ahead, Ray.
Okay, mine is, and Angelo know this, I really am. Even my son, when he comes in and goes, "What are you watching?" And I tell him, he goes, "Oh God, no, I won't be around for the next 3 hours." I love Temple football, and I am the only one I know who obsesses over whether I have the game. I yell and scream. I mean, since the time Clark was around 3, he would go, "They can't hear you, right?" So I know I'm obsessed over Temple football. I'm a diehard, and that's what I watch, what no one else watches.
Jay, hold on. I got to tell a quick story. So a number of years ago, Temple had a good team. And Rhea was talking about it. She was singing the Temple fight song on the radio show. And then she got me interested in it. So I started watching it. And then as soon as I would turn it on, I would text her. And then whatever they would do, they would start losing. Right?
No, Jay, it was way worse than this. Angelo doesn't remember it. They got to their first bowl game in like 40 years. And it was in DC. I drove to it. It was 10 degrees. It was freezing cold. We were up 21-7, I believe, at halftime. And he texted me. We lost 22-21.
Oh, Angelo, you're
point.
the cooler.
No,
in casinos, when they bring out a cooler, Angelo has to sit next to you when you're hot.
Jay. Last night, I did the 5th inning of the Phillies game. They were leading 2-1. The minute I got on, they blew the lead, and I left, and they won it in the 9th inning.
Yes.
I have always been a jinx. I don't understand it. But Rhea, it got to the point where Rhea would beg me. She would beg me on the air.
Please don't watch.
Don't listen to Temple. Don't watch Temple. They don't care about you. You shouldn't care about them.
Well, Angela, maybe you should watch the Republican debate tonight, and none of those guys are in.
I'm not watching it. I think less of you than you are, Jay. You're on a boat watching a Republican debate. You better be careful. They may man the lifeboats at some point.
They would probably do well to get me off the boat at this point. I'll be honest with you. Angela, what did we talk about this week? What do we got?
All right. It's all Netflix all the time. Heart of Stone, Netflix. Stranger Things, Netflix. The Untold series of sports documentaries, Netflix. Fisk, Netflix. And the American Gladiator documentary, Netflix. Check out Netflix. They're having a very good week.
Good week on Netflix. Guys, thank you so much for joining me on the boat. Next week, guys, I'm off the boat. Finally, I land in New York on Wednesday. I'll not fly home. I'll drive home. But we will talk then. If you've enjoyed the show, I urge you, please tell as many people about it as you can. We grow because you guys tell other people about the TV show. And thank you guys very much for joining us. And we will talk next time.
Bye-bye. Hey, Jay, you know